Local Jason Lawrence said he saw blue lights in the sky and then mysteriously was compelled to eat 3 cans of tuna, a food he typically hates.
Hello, all you rotten little creeps, you. Welcome back to another episode of the Devil's Cut Podcast, our haunted home of a show where we talk about our undying love for all the things that go bump in the night. If it's horrifying, horrific, terrifying, or terrific, we're here to talk about it. I'm your host, currently possessed by a devil, Matt Young, and here with me, as always, my co-host and best friend, the skeleton everyone should want in their closet,
Eric Rossi.
Are you excited to go back to school, Eric?
No, absolutely not. Fuck no.
Oh man, it just, you know what, the back to school was such a prominent feel and definitive feeling of so much of our lives. Again, didn't we talk about it on the show how my internal clock still runs
both
on
of us.
school time?
Yeah, we're both fucked up.
My calendar forever, the new year starts in September because that's when the school starts, right?
Yep.
So I'm fucked up eternally. That's what America's done to our children.
I think the big takeaway for me is the back to school feeling is the precursor to the Sunday scaries, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that anxiety you get Sunday at 11 o'clock because you're like, oh fuck, the weekend's over, I gotta go back to school on Monday. It's that exact same shit, but for the whole year happens in late August, early September.
Yeah, there's sort of it's school, right? So it's really not that bad. It's not like work, right? So even when once you're in school, it's really not that bad because you're just hanging out with your friends and not paying attention to anything really.
Yeah.
But it is true. Imagine if our parents had sat us down and be like, this feeling, it's August 30th, right? Your parents sit you down and they go, you know how terrible you're feeling right now? This is going to happen to you every
fucking week.
Every Sunday after 18, every single Sunday, this is how you're going to feel. That honestly, I'm surprised my father did not tell me that because it really would have been on track with everything else he fucked me up with.
I don't know if previous generations experienced the Sunday scaries the same way we do.
Really? You think it's what are we, millennials, a millennial thing?
We at least quantified it and termed it.
That's true. You're right. We termed it, but I think everybody's felt it. They've been, the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday has been a deal for a while. So,
Do you hold on, before we go in, do you every once in a while get I have to go back to school dream nightmare?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely get the back to school.
It's infrequent for me, but at least maybe once or twice a year randomly, if I have a really bad nightmare, it's usually, how do I say this? I separate my scary dreams into stress dream or nightmare because nightmares I usually enjoy. If it's just a big scary
event
or something, it's different from a stress dream because can
you give me an example of a nightmare that in recent memory that you can remember?
Okay, perfect example. I had a nightmare the other night that I was a different person, and I heard
you talking about this to somebody on the phone.
I was telling Bailey about this crazy nightmare. Quick tangent on my nightmare. I had a nightmare that I was somebody else. I was this Indian guy, and I was getting ready for a big wedding. And we
An Indian wedding?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. I guess because your brain was I don't really know what that's like, so we'll just do regular for this one.
But it was a kind of a cabinsy, woodsy wedding, and there was a killer that was killing people that I knew from the wedding party. And trying to set it up so that I was the killer, trying to frame me. Yeah. So I was trying to run around and counter the frame job, but also no one would believe me that there was a killer.
All right. So
So that to me, that was a nightmare versus a stress dream.
that seems like a stress dream to me, though, because people
No.
not believing you, because it's like not like the killer was killing you. He was killing other people, and people just weren't buying your. That's for me. That sounds very stressful. It's like
No, to
less
me-
scary for me.
To me, that's nightmare territory. But a stress dream, perfect example of a school stress dream, is like I'm going on 32 in October.
That's fair.
I have a dream that I am me at my current age,
Uh-oh.
and I am back in high school, and they're like, yo, where's your fucking paper? Did you do your paper? I'm like, bro, what do you mean? I have a full-time job. I'm not doing my fucking paper. Papers due today? Fuck, I'm not doing that. And they're like, all right, well, you're getting a bad grade, and you're going to fail this, and then you're going to have to go back to high school forever instead of going back to work. I'm like, what?
High school forever. Yeah, I don't know. For me, high school is just going back is terrifying, just because I was just so extremely insecure in high school and just nervous and scared about everything all the time. So that's just for me, the fear of like insecurity and like lack of control and stuff. That's where that's where my like school nightmares like hit me. That's the feelings they trigger in me. So they're never pleasant when I have my high school dreams. I would actually, here's a question, and it's actually relevant to the movie that we're going to talk about today. If you could go back in time,
Okay. Here I am.
yeah, you not even go back in time, you just reset like to freshman year of high school,
Oh,
right?
Jesus.
You keep all your memories.
Oh, no.
Everything that you know up until 32-year-old Eric, you know all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go back in time and just start over from freshman year? Like, just start your whole life back at 13, 14.
No, only because I feel like the knowledge I had of the future would actually not benefit me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would overcompensate in a way that would be detrimental to my life goals.
Okay, interesting.
But you know what? I probably would buckle down on drawing a little bit more.
yeah. Well, see, that's the thing, because you.
Oh, no, you know what? I would, because I would become the first fucking, like, YouTube streamer kid in high school, and I would take the stream. Goodbye, Ninja. Guess what?
Yeah.
Fucking
it's fucking Eric.
Eric is up there, and he's the guy with the blue fucking hair.
Yeah, see that dude. Picturing you with the ninja haircut is still with the mustache though. It would be like the funniest thing. There has to be like a Snapchat filter that turns you into ninja,
absolutely.
right? No, people always, I feel like people often, when posed with these kinds of questions, take sort of like the easy, like moral route where they're like, no, because I wouldn't want to change anything. I like me. And I'm like, bullshit. There's no way you like everything about you right now or the world. So for me, absolutely. Now the struggle for me would come down to, how do I manipulate events so that like I come out ahead, but the things I like about my life still kind of play out the same.
Yeah,
That's the puzzle piece that is like the mind-boggling bit.
Couldn't manage to do that myself. There's no way.
It's tough. It's
So
a
much
tough
of
ask.
my life was bad, and it resulted in good things for me because it was quite a struggle, and I had to become very independent.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. You still have that. Because you have all your memories, so you're still you now, but in a fresher body back in 2000 whatever. So you're still you. You still have those experiences. So that's not discount. You're just getting a chance to change things and kind of mold. See, that's I think the fun part. So I would go, yes, absolutely, send me back, but I would have the challenge of like figuring out how to get other things to line up, which honestly, I think could be like an interesting like show or book like to read about, is like someone gets this power, but then they're like, fuck, how do I like line the good stuff up?
I would just start investing in fucking audio equipment early and fucking good cameras and a good computer, because I'd be like, I don't have to invent Twitch. I just have to be the most prepared for Twitch
exactly
as possible.
100%. You like, because we went to school.
Those are the prime COD years.
Yeah, we were in high school right in time for like just before the e-celebrity, the
tidal
influencer
wave,
age,
yeah.
you know? So like it would be the perfect time for us to get in on it.
I'd be practicing these fucking dances that no one's ever seen before, and they'd be like, what's happening? I'd be like, in a couple years, China's going to put out an app that's going to change your fucking world. You better get ready to dance.
We could be living in a world where instead of Kermit on the Masked Singer, it could be you.
Could have been me.
Could have been you. Eric Rossi, Masked Singer.
Holy shit.
How crazy. I guess with all of that seemingly bizarre and unrelated discussion, we can get into the movie we're talking about today, guys. So we are talking about a 2012 horror comedy
Fever dream.
Definitely fever dream, called Detention. Just right out of the gate, to give you a little bit of an IMDb tagline, elevator pitch for this movie. So this movie is about a killer posing as an in-universe movie slasher, Cinderella, stalks the student body of Grizzly Lake High School, and a group of teens band together to survive while serving detention, which honestly does absolutely nothing to describe what this movie is.
No.
Even a little bit.
This movie...
Honestly, the title of this movie doesn't even do it, because the detention aspect of this movie is such a non-factor.
It's like a third act situation. It has nothing to do with the overall movie. This movie is like if you took Kesha, LMFAO, 303, The Breakfast Club, way too much coke, and
So
like Ken I Has cheeseburger humor, and fucking rolled it up into one movie.
it is a, for better or worse, a terribly 2012 movie.
It's weird. I've never... So, like, 2010, 2012, I'd say up to maybe 15, that kind of fucking, like, neon highlighter, like, skinny jeans and fucking Cobra Starship t-shirts. Like, I feel like...
Cobra Starship.
I feel like...
Can we cue the Snakes on a Plane song real quick?
It's the best song they ever made.
But as far as I'm concerned, the only one.
But it's like 2010's camp in a way that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
In a way that I thought could almost not exist in a like consumable fashion.
Yeah, and honestly, the consumability of this movie is also up for debate.
Yeah.
Because I've just never seen something that is just so, in a movie, that is just so like, it's breathless. Like there is, the second the movie starts, you have zero downtime to really consider anything. You just, it's like what happens to what's his name, the Droog from Clockwork Orange, when they just fucking tape his eyes open, dude.
Yeah,
like, that's kind of what it feels. Watching this movie feels like. I'm like,
breathless is 100% the way to describe it, because this movie like hits the ground running, and then literally every sentence out of everyone's mouth is like, we're setting up a joke, we're setting up something, we're referencing something, and it's just like go. There's no time to consider anything. It's insane.
It is a whiplash fever dream, if there ever was one. It's so crazy. And I've watched it twice now. I don't know how I feel about it. Like I love parts of it and I hate parts of it. I think it's bad and great, and all at the same time. It's so bizarre. And I don't even, at this point, I can't even, I tried to find like the articles and like posts that I saw that recommended this movie to me, because I saw it and I was like, oh, it was like in a list of like, oh, weird horror movies from like the aughts that like are secretly really good. And I was like, oh, Detention. Well, you know what? We're planning like a sort of back to school episode. Why don't we talk about this movie? So we were like, well, let's watch it. And I can't find any. I feel like I got bamboozled. Someone posted it and then took it off the second I heard about it. But yeah, I definitely didn't see this movie back when it came out, or even heard about it.
I hadn't even heard about it until you brought it up the other day.
Yeah, it was one of those like deep dive, like, oh, movies you never heard of that are like secretly really good. And I don't know if that quite it does enough to capture what this experience of a film is. But
it's weird. I can't say it's good, but I can't say it's bad either. It's like this weird middle ground where I'm like, I would probably watch it again, like with the group, but I don't know, like, how I would recommend this movie to anyone.
Here's the thing: you can't possibly casually watch it because it's not like the way that it's filmed and the way it delivers its story is anything but casual. It's like being on a fucking like one of those roller coasters that just like the Batman and Robin from Six Flags that just like launches you out at Mach speed. You know, it's you can't possibly be like casual while doing that.
The only way I can describe how this feels is if you take like an edible that you're like, uh-oh, this edible is making me sleepy. And then you have way too much caffeine. And that like split second overlap of Venn diagram of like what both of those things do to you.
So cocaine.
It's just so crazy.
Did I tell you that about my mom's like cocaine talk with me?
No.
We went on vacation recently with my whole family, and I had like a minute. You know, me and my mom were like driving to go like catch dinner with like my grandma real quick, and she was driving, and we were just talking about stuff, and I don't even know. It definitely was apropos of the conversation we were having, but like, well, mostly because like now she lives in Jersey, right? So edibles are like weed is legal. So I was talking about how weird that is, and mom was like, yeah, I was never really, you know, she doesn't really take edibles or smoke because like weed just never agreed with her. But she goes, but cocaine though, that shit was awesome. Best time of my life was when I was doing cocaine. I'm like, Mom.
I love that for her.
Yeah, she was like, cocaine, awesome. Weed, eh. She's like, cocaine rock though. She's like, I wouldn't do it now though. Too much, all that fentanyl shit. She's like, no. She's like, I need pure. My mom was literally like, I need pure 80s cocaine.
Well, yeah, of course. Of course.
Just fun stuff that like once you get to a certain age, your parents are just like, fuck it, I'll just whatever. All the weird shit I was into, they can know about it now. They're adult enough. But yeah, so a little bit more detail that I think detail about the movie that I think informs some more about it. So it's directed by Joseph Kahn, written by Joseph Kahn and Mark Palermo. Very little information about Mark Palermo. He's only done like 4 other short films. Not too much going on in that department. Not that he didn't contribute. But,
he's getting his bread buttered somewhere else.
Yeah,
not a director. Not a confident director.
Joseph Kahn is he directed this movie. He also directed a like 2004 action movie called Torque, which is like about like a motocross guy who like goes to like Taiwan and gets like involved in like illegal street racing and like it gets involved with a Taiwanese gang and stuff. They actually talk about it in this movie. Someone mentions it being like a shitty movie. But more importantly, Joseph Kahn is known for being, I think like prolific is a pretty apt term, prolific music video director. This dude has directed music videos for Taylor Swift, including like the Bad Blood video, which everyone can agree was pretty rad. But Taylor Swift videos, Imagine Dragon videos, Lady Gaga. He even did Rob Zombie music videos, Mariah Carey music videos,
Nicki Minaj.
He's seriously basically worked with like at least like 70% of like modern
the
like
biggest acts in music,
gigantic music acts. So this guy is a music video like legacy dude,
which shows. It fucking shows because I remember watching it and being like, why is this filmed this way? It's so weird. It's lit weird in a way that movies aren't lit. Though there's zero headroom, right? So like that was the thing that jumped out at me first. Is that like usually what they teach you in like
film school,
which I wasn't there, but I know that this is a thing because they do it in comics too, is you have your three fifths, which is like you try to leave a little bit of space above the character's head so they have like kind of room to breathe in the scene and it doesn't look visually crowded. Every shot of a character in this cuts
up on their
cuts off
face.
The top of their forehead and is like right at their shoulder height. You just get boom real close the whole time. You're seeing everything. It's like dead straight down the camera.
And not even that, but a character can't get more than like 5 words in before like a crazy cut happens. And
we're cutting every 5 seconds.
Yeah, but that, I mean, to be fair, that is like an aughts trend in general, but it is exacerbated by the fact that this guy is coming from a music video background. It's as if he took that mentality of like, well, we've got 3 minutes to like tell a story.
Yes.
But he did that with an hour and 33 minutes and it's just nonstop. Cut, dialogue. There's like literally not a second for even the jokes. There's no time for that. They land and then we're past it. There's no breathing room for people to be like, ha, 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 because we're on to the next fucking gag. We're on to the next visual joke.
It's like if you tried to film all of the Olympics in one day.
Yeah.
Like you were literally running from event to watch people like finish and then immediately running past as you film to film the next thing.
And the weird thing is I also don't like, a lot of the time I don't hate it. It is seriously like being on like a carnival ride where you like barely have, it's like being like going to Disney, you know, in those rides where they have all these visual things. You're like, oh, look at that character and look at that character. They're doing a thing, but you can't linger on it because the ride's going, right?
Imagine if you did Ecstasy and then got on Pirates of the Caribbean and it was running at 3 times speed.
Yeah,
and
like,
it was actually 1.5 miles long.
That's essentially what this movie is like. It's also starring some a weird cast of people. Number one, top of the list, even though he's not the main character, Josh Hutcherson. Last seen, Five Nights at Freddy's. We all know Hutcherson.
I'd argue he's the co-tagonist.
Yeah, I would say also, I'm not a big Hutcherson fan, and I actually thought he was terrible in Five Nights at Freddy's.
I thought he was really good in this movie.
He was the most likable I actually was now like teenage girl Matt in this movie was like, oh, I can see the appeal.
He was
just aloof enough for me to be like, I kind of love him though. It's also starring Shanley Caswell, who hasn't really been in all that much relevant to our show. She's been in a lot of things, but she was in
character, right?
She's our main character. She's playing so Josh Hutcherson plays Clapton Davis is his name, which is such a funny fucking
cowboy name.
Yep. Shanley Caswell plays Riley Jones. Again, for our purposes, she's not in all that much, but she was the oldest daughter in The Conjuring, the first Conjuring movie. Oh, believe it or not. Yeah. Not a lot of screen time in it, but she was the oldest daughter. That she was also in another like sort of like horror comedy movie called Kappa Kappa Die, where she played a college co-ed.
I'm like mind blown
that she was in The Conjuring.
Yeah, because like I can see her in it now.
Yeah, she's it. She's the oldest daughter. We've also got Spencer Locke, who plays the character Ione. We saw her. She was, I believe, the main character one of the main characters in Insidious: The Last Key, as well as she played Kmart in 2 of the Resident Evil movies, Resident Evil Afterlife and Extinction. Don't ask me who Kmart is.
I was like, who the fuck is Kmart?
She's just in the movie, and actually, she is like a main character. She's like one of the leads of the movie. So,
mind blowing,
crazy. Also starring Dane Cook. That's all I have. The information I have. To say about that.
What is he doing in this movie?
Well, actually, Dane Cook was also in Torque, which leads me to believe that he and Joseph Kahn have some sort of relationship.
They go to the same drug dealer for sure. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say Dane Cook is like doing the anti Ryan Reynolds act in this movie.
Yes,
right?
He's very anti Ryan Reynolds. Yes.
It's like all of the like fun, funny, charming things that people love Ryan Reynolds for, he is doing like the fucking opposite, like the bizarro. He's like bizarro Ryan Reynolds in this.
Yeah. It's very funny. Well, especially because he's got like a fucked up face in the movie too, because he's got like the scar that we were like, what is this? And that's the other thing. This movie is just loaded with like visual information where you're like, what is happening? How is this relevant to the plot? What is the plot?
The same way that the pacing of this movie is like nonstop, the visuals on screen,
breakneck, one could say.
Every inch of this fucking shot is like setting up something, is referencing something. It's just like Like you said, I think it really is the mentality of like, we need to tell like a funny narrative in 3 minutes in this music video, but stretched out and like multiplied.
Yeah, it's more
for
like
a-
exponential than stretched out,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
not like they slowed the music video storyline down.
Yeah.
They just were like, here's 7,000 music videos.
You're right. It is like exponentially multiplied.
It's really fucking crazy. But again, in a second we'll just get right on into it. I will say before we start, I recommend watching it only because it is such an insane experience. I can't really say if it's good or bad. I still waffle between like, did I like this movie or did I not like this movie? I think it's so unique that like I can't really quantify it properly, at least not right now.
I think it's I think there's a very specific
It's definitely
age
a time
window
capsule.
that you need to watch this in. Like, I think if you currently in today's age
Yes.
of 2024,
Mm-hmm.
if you are over 37, this movie might be lost on you. If you are under 27, this movie's going to be lost on you.
Yeah.
There's essentially 10 years worth of people in there that this movie is going to be like, "Oh, I understand everything about what's happening."
Yeah, mostly because the director's age definitely plays into it extremely, because not only is this an extremely 2012 movie, but it is so referential of the 80s and late 80s and early 90s, when presumably the director was growing up, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like it's this movie is focusing on a few very specific periods of time. Also, some of the movie may be lost on you, as it was for me, because it is a very again, the director of this movie, huge music guy, directs tons and tons and tons of music videos. It's a very music reference heavy movie. So a lot of the like jokes, and not even jokes, but like the characters will just go on these music diatribes where they're like referencing like 80 different like music things, that it's just like, for me, I'm sure Heather like it caught a lot more of it because she's more of the music one, you know, in the relationship. So for me, I was like, yeah, these references are a little going past me. I'm here for the horror, less for the music references. But you know, so that also is going to color your experience with this movie to a degree or another. You know? So there's definitely people who I know listen that are like way bigger music heads than me that might find like a whole different experience with this movie. But it's just either way, it's really hard to like quantify if this movie is good or bad or watchable, not watchable. I don't know. So that's why I just say I'd say go for it.
This movie also is so laden with subplots that it's fucking out of. There's like
where I cannot wait to get to some of these things.
There's a almost Scream. The main plot is almost like Scream.
Yes, specifically like I did find that the director very specifically referenced like Scream. Like the killer in this movie, he wanted it to be like clumsy and goofy, like Ghostface.
Makes sense.
So
it shows.
Scream is definitely a huge inspiration.
There's a Scream main plot. Then there's there's like a Breakfast Club third act plot.
Yep.
There's a
there's
Mean Girls.
There's a Freaky Friday. There's a Mean Girls. There's a Back to the Future.
There's a The Fly.
There's a Fly. We've got a Brundlefly in this.
There's
movie.
a random Brundlefly happening, and random in the very 2012 random way.
This is like, isn't it? Wouldn't it be funny if just Bacon was here? Like that's like if you're
Lols, can I have cheeseburger, bacon, T-Rex, please?
That's some of that 2012ness is bleeding through, and that's probably the most insufferable part of the movie.
Yeah,
because I can't,
without a doubt,
I'm really not looking forward to because like right now we're getting past. We had a nice couple of years where the 90s was back. Like 2010, I am not looking forward to making.
We're currently slogging through like a 2001, 2003 fashion revival.
I'm not excited for.
Oh no!
For like basically post high school graduation for me years. I'm not down for that era to return. But anyway, I mean, do we want to get into it real quick? We'll break down like the plot a little bit, or what discernible bits of the plot we can make.
Before we hop into the plot, there's just one thing I want to say about the main character.
The Riley,
Yeah.
Shanley Caswell.
So Riley is our kind of dual purpose final girl, but also like the every girl, which is like a part of like high school teen movie character.
She's the let her hair down, take off the glasses nerd girl who's like obviously objectively extremely attractive, but for some reason in this movie we're expected to believe that everyone hates her.
Yeah. But I think this might be the only time I've ever seen a successful casting and character in that role, because she is very like middle of the road as a personality. Like, I don't find her to be that funny or that interesting. I think she is a very like
she's a
basic
punching bag in this
high
movie,
school
dude.
girl. She does get absolutely annihilated by all of the dialogue,
and physically too.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about her.
but it's just I've never seen someone where they're like, oh, look at this just very basic, average, normal girl. And usually it's like a supermodel. But this, I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, she is a very basic, average, normal.
You know what?
high
She
school
does
girl.
look like, I will say, all of the casting in this movie, most of the characters do look like high school teenagers and not like CW high school teenagers.
30-year-olds as teenagers.
A lot of them
yeah.
do, whether or not what their ages were is regardless, they do look more like teenagers.
Yeah.
So like that one I did appreciate for sure. But yeah, she also Riley is a great name for like a character of that ilk, right?
Yes,
like
yeah,
Riley
yeah.
is such like a, that's Riley. She's got
She's
kind of a
normal.
boy name, kind of girl
Yeah,
name.
but she's normal.
Yeah, she's just normal. No, but yeah, I agree. She does they do a really good job of fitting her in the middling final girl slot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's get into the plot of the movie, right? So the movie actually, again, the movie opens up. It is like, again, we're remember this movie is going at a breakneck speed. So we open up. There is a title card. Not even any like black screen, fade to the production company, fade out, fade to the
No.
next production company. No,
Instant,
the
cold
movie
open.
starts. Detention. That's the name of the movie. Cut to the shot. We wake up on this girl Taylor Fisher, who is giving like a classic like aughts teen like snarky intro where she's got like infographics because she's like, look how like snarky I am.
This is the acronym I live by.
Yeah,
It's
she says I'm a bitch, and it's like beauty something, and then like the H is hoobastank, and then it's like a quick pause. She goes, "What? They're good," and you're like, "Oh my god!" Immediately, like the very first lines of the movie, you're like, "Uh-oh,
Mm-hmm.
we're in for a ride here." She, and not only that, so she wakes up, gives us her little intro, gets out of bed and downs her Herpex medication with like she reaches under her bed, pulls out her herpes medication and a flask of some sort of alcohol. And that's like her morning routine. Wakes up, pop those
That's
down.
the fucking Kesha wake up in the
It is
morning
the-
with a bottle of Jack.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, she didn't mention the Herpex in that song. She then, after a long diatribe of how to be a ideal 2012 teenager, she also tells the audience to spit, not swallow, and hawks up a blue butterfly shaped loogie into the thing, which is like, I have to assume is like a butterfly effect reference.
I have no clue what they were trying to do with that.
I would imagine, well, because it's 2012, so we're right after that Ashton Kutcher Butterfly Effect movie. It was like in 2006, right? So
Yeah.
and there's a lot of time travel going on, so I have to assume that's what they're referencing with this. We're also introduced to like the name of the town, which is like what, Grizzly Falls or something
Grizzly
like that.
Lake, I
Grizzly
think.
Lake. We also learn about the everyone's favorite, like in this town, everyone's favorite slasher movie, Cinderella, right? Is the in continuity like Jason or Michael Myers for this universe.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, the town is like obsessed
with
this.
it, right? And so the sequel is about to, or the threequel is about to release. But then, like as Taylor's going through her like little diatribe, Cinderella shows up in person, slices Taylor's throat, stabs her like a shitload onto her bed, and then tosses her out the window onto like the car of like her mom waiting to take her to work. Also, there's a bunch of scenes of like Taylor just being like horrible to her family.
Yeah.
Like her mom's like, I made French toast, and she's like, you're ruining my life.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's so fucking stupid. And then after that, we cue to the actual main character of Riley, right? So, and Riley also wakes up and takes like a different set of pills. It's just another. We're all taking pills.
It's just to show us how like, oh, that was the popular girl, and this is the like not popular girl.
This whole thing, this like Mean
Intro
Girls,
sequence?
this
Yeah.
Mean Girls intro sequence, this character that dies, the murder of her, all of that, it literally takes place within 2 minutes.
What the fuck?
It is that's how fucking breakneck of a pace this movie takes place in. That whole thing is 2 minutes of the 1 hour and 33 minute movie like runtime.
Gun to my head, I would have said 15 minutes. That's insane.
No.
Holy fuck.
2 minutes. 2 minutes of this movie. That's what's so crazy about it. After that, we meet main character Riley. Like I said, she, is taking her own, probably not herpes, but more likely antidepressant pills.
I think
She's
it is
also-
specifically antidepressant
but
pills.
she's got like a broken foot too. That she's in a big like boot that she's limping around in the whole movie.
There's this really gross setup where like she's got her covers pulled up to her nose, and then she rubs her face with her hand, and it rubs
And it's blood. What we think is blood, and then she goes, ugh, and then she pulls the covers off, and she just fell asleep with like a plate of fries and ketchup on her too.
What is that? That's nasty.
It's just isn't it so funny? It's random. So we meet her. After that, she goes to school.
She misses the bus.
She does miss.
She gets someone robs her iPod Nano on the way to work.
No, her iPod Shuffle. Someone
on the way to
specifically
school.
robs her and complains that she's only got an iPod Shuffle to give. After that, she gets to school. This is where we're introduced to like all the other characters. We meet Cool Boy Clapton Davis, played by Josh Hutcherson,
Skateboarding around.
We also are treated to like an insane opening credits sequence where like all of the names of the people involved are like someone buys, like a Coke from the vending machine, and instead of Coca-Cola, it says like the name of the person, or like there'll be like graffiti on the wall and it's like a bunch of names of the people. Mm-hmm. There's a part where like Clapton later like vomits into a urinal, and he's vomiting up like alphabet soup in the name of the people. So it's like all these like weird, crazy, unique.
It is
like,
very creative.
It's honestly one of the best parts of the movie is just the title sequence, like watching all the creative ways they throw in all the introductory credits. It's so wild. Let's see. We also meet a bunch of other characters. We got tech nerd Toshiba, which later somebody in the movie calls him Hitachi by accident. Which,
fucked up.
Which I thought was so fucking funny. We've got the goth basket case character Mimi. We've got the ragey football boy, Billy Nolan, which is a reference to John Travolta's character in Carrie. That's his name, is Billy Nolan. Yeah. We got Principal Dane Cook, right? And the very first time we see him, he's making a very poignant comment about pregnant teens, which was very funny. I had to actually go in and research. I was like, what was this actual situation? And it's funny because people like canceled him, like not even canceled, but people were just like, we don't care for Dane Cook anymore. Well before he started dating an 18-year-old, it was just like people had forgotten about Dane Cook. And then they were like, this is weird, isn't it? And everyone went, yeah, but we don't care about him anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Because I remember all of a sudden it was like all over Twitter that he was dating like a child, essentially.
They're still together.
They're still together. I think they're married.
He's 51 and she's like 20, whatever, or something.
But it was exactly that. It was like, wait, why is Dane Cook in the news? That's gross. I thought we all gave up on him. And then it was like, oh, he's just doing something fucking weird and gross for a guy his age. No surprise.
Yeah,
it was like as if like Dr. Doom had made the news for like taking over a fucking small island or continent. You're like, oh well, that's on brand for them.
Yeah, you're like, whatever, that's normal. It's Dr. Doom stuff.
What's that? Joker terrorizes Gotham another day.
Mm-hmm. After that, we are introduced to the character of Ione, who is dating Hutcherson's Clapton Davis. But she has like a distinct obsession with like the late 80s, early 90s. She's always referencing 80s, 90s, like rom-com heroes, like in reference to Clapton. She's like, oh, you're my whoever, my so-and-so, and everyone is always like, whatever, that's just Ione, right? So then we get like after that, we have sort of a lay of the land of the relationships between the characters, right? So like Riley loves Clapton, Clapton's dating Ione, Ione also loves Clapton. But then Billy's like obsessed with Ione because he's constantly trying to beat up Hutcherson's character the whole movie. He's like constantly calling for like a fight after school every time he sees him. He's just like 3:00 in the parking lot.
It's so funny. He gets threatened right in this intro sequence. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. When I find him, it's fucking on. It's gonna be a big fight after school. And then later on, he's in fucking gym class. And he's like, all right, well, I guess I gotta prepare for this fight at 3:00. What do? I pull open my laptop and watch Roadhouse on DVD.
Yeah.
What?
Also, there's the character Sander Sanderson is his name. He's like kind of into Riley, but he's also friends with Clapton. He's like the nerd, like the ducky or the geek, of the group. Nobody really likes him.
He's always trying to convince everyone, like, hey, you're not going to fuck the most popular guy? You should fuck me, though.
Yeah, he's one of those ones. After that, there's like we had a scene where like Clapton is brought to... Everybody's sort of got their own arc in this movie. So Clapton's whole thing is he has to get an A in anything, or otherwise Dane Cook is going to expel him.
He'll be held back.
Because he's so useless. Yeah. No, not even held back. He's like, you have to get an A or... prove your worth to this planet, or you're expelled with the worst grades in history.
Yeah, you have the worst grades in the history of this school. If you don't get an A in something, you're done.
Oh my god, so that's like his little bit. That's Clapton's deal. That's what he's got going on. And also, Billy Nolan's trying to fight him the whole movie. After that, we get the absolute best scene in the movie, right? Because it's debate club. So this is where Riley's also like a vegetarian, right? She's like this activist type archetype character. So she's like fighting for all these, injustices and stuff. She's a vegetarian. So she's in this debate club doing her anti-meat eater like argument.
Yeah.
And her,
oh my God,
her opponent is this character. His name is Gord. And he is the
highlight of this film is Gord.
He's the Canadian foreign exchange student, and he gives just a thing that I couldn't even do justice by replicating. We're gonna slot it in right now. His monologue for being pro meat eater, anti-vegetarian is fucking astounding. It's amazing.
For the counter argument, we turn to Gord. Gord is our Canadian exchange student from Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, where I hear the salmon is delicious. Gord?
Yes, I'd like to start off by saying that this girl's argument is ridiculous. Vegetarians who eat fish are hypocrites. She thinks because fish may feel no pain, they don't value their lives. Absurd.
And notice how she expresses almost no sympathy for chickens. That's because Americans hate chickens.
For example, KFC serves popcorn chicken to assure the customers that the chicken was blown to bits. Yet the meatball sub at Subway isn't called popcorn cow. Americans want chickens to die.
Personally, I do feel sympathy for animals, which is why I choose to only eat baby animals. They have not lived as long, and they are not leaving as much behind. Baby clams, chicken wings, baby seals, no big loss.
If we don't eat meat, we lose our place in the food chain. Eating animals gives us confidence as humans. Vegetarians like this girl, who is only wearing one shoe, have less confidence than everybody else. Thank you, class.
Yeah, so that was the probably the funniest part of the movie. Also very funny or important is when like Riley first woke up, there's also this subplot of newscasts in the background where people are being like abducted by, or they're seeing aliens.
Oh yeah.
So there's an alien abduction plot going on in the background.
We've been talking about just the plot specifically for maybe 15 minutes tops now. As you can tell,
there's a slasher, there's aliens.
There's a subplot of every type.
Yes. Animals are also exploding.
Yeah, they're just
suddenly
blowing up.
Like pets and stuff.
Pets, chickens.
Riley is also like, after this, I think they go to like the cafeteria or whatever. There's a scene. Riley's basically constantly slipping on wet floors this whole movie too,
With her one broken foot.
With her one broken foot, she's constantly falling down, and then like the whole school just kind of walks over her. It happens so many times in the movie.
At what point does she try and
Kill
off
herself? She tries to unalive herself. This is the point, because she's so fed up with, she's lost debate club. Her crush doesn't like her, right? So she's like, "Fuck it, whatever. I'm just gonna end it," right? So there's also like this thing, this subplot about this, the Grizzly Lake High School. Their mascot is this bear, and they have like a big taxidermied grizzly bear in like as like a centerpiece in the school. It has like magnetic properties that it's like constantly attracting metal objects over the course of the whole movie. This movie's fucking nuts, dude.
Yes.
It's crazy. So like there's that. Riley is like, "Oh, you know what? I'm just going to hang myself in front of the bear." And so she like gets her noose going and she gets on her little stool. She puts the noose around her neck and she kicks it aside. And she's just hanging there. A bell rings and like two girls walk past her, like, and completely unfazed. She like stops choking for a second and is like, but eventually she realizes like, "Oh, I don't want to kill myself." So she tries to like rescue herself by scooting the stool closer.
It's so bad.
But meanwhile, while she's being hung, the Cinderella slasher shows up and tries to kill her. And there's like this weird little fight scene that's so funny because she's currently being hung and she's like kicking this slasher with like her boot and it's like swinging a fire axe at her. Eventually it like misses, like, and the killer slashes the rope, right, and lets her down. And then she is free of the noose. The killer runs away and she's like, Riley's like, "Ugh." But then, because we can't have even a fucking second, literally not even a second for the main character to breathe, we've got to cut to it's the fight time outside of the school for Clapton and Billy Nolan, right? So they're having a fight that's going on, and there's like a part where like they're getting ready to fight, and Clapton and Billy are like what's his name, Sander, like is like, "Oh, smile, Clapton, so I can, for dental records." And then fucking Billy goes, "Yeah, next time you go to the dentist and you go for an x-ray, it's gonna be a picture of your head flying off." Like, it's so fucking stupid. Everything that this Billy character, this jock guy, says is so dumb.
They're the worst threats I've ever heard.
Oh my god. So they fight, but the fight is interrupted by the cops
Instantly.
who show up, and the cops are like, "Hey, your classmate was killed." And then Riley's like, "Hey, I was just attacked." And the cops are like, "Yeah, likely story."
It's
they immediately
so fucking funny.
They immediately and completely disregard her.
One of the best, most poignant fucking gags of the whole movie, honestly, is she's like, "Hey, actually, I was just attacked." And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure you were. This girl just wants attention." It's like, oh my god.
Later that night, Riley's at home. She's attacked again by Cinderella. This time, there's like a chase sequence that ensues in which Riley eats shit like about 800 times. She has to like jump with her boot on like 4 like huge like privacy fences, right? Mm-hmm. So like these picket fences that are like 8 feet tall. She even gets like attacked by a dog at one point.
Oh, it almost bites her face off. We have this weird slow-mo almost bite, but it was pretty good. I was like, "Oh!"
It's so wild. She gets away from the killer again this time. And then immediately after escaping the villain and being berated by the same 2 cops, she has a cute little you liked this scene. There's a cute little longboard riding scene where you were like, "This is the most real thing I've ever seen."
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so funny. It's Josh Hutcherson pushing her. He's essentially got a longboard. She's just standing on the nose of it, and he is holding her hips and pushing her. I was like, yeah, this is what middle school looked like for me. That makes sense. And
you know what? Not for me, but I could see it through your eyes, so I believed you. I could feel it.
It was so funny. Your spooky wife was like, "Oh my god, she's turning around to talk to him." I'm like, trust me, she is like anchored to that board right now. As long as he's holding on and pushing, she's fine. It's like the 2011, 2012 equivalent to riding a girl on your handlebars.
Totally. Absolutely. After this scene, like, there's a little bit of flirtation. This is kind of where we find out that, like, I don't know, Clapton's kind of a douchebag because he like just wants everything, right? He like wants Riley, because you're like, and it feels like the movie wants you to be happy that like he's into Riley, but the rest of the movie he's also just as into Ione too. So he's really just he's just playing.
It seems to me that like Ione is more interested in him than he is in her. So he's just kind of
because there's multiple scenes where he's like, no, Ione's like an old soul, which we'll understand.
Oh, that's right.
An old soul trapped in like a young hot body. He's like, she's awesome, but then he's also into Riley. He just wants it all. He's not great.
He's being fooled into being groomed by a Freaky Friday situation. That's what it is.
There's a modern day problematic. This whole grooming thing is like it's like a much more modern like realization we've come to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like another issue for later on.
We'll be getting back to that. Stay tuned.
But we get like an awkward like third wheel situation because Riley, Clapton, and Ione go to a movie. They go to see Cinderella 2, which is where we find out that like I would have assumed that the Cinderella movies were like Friday the 13th esque. But apparently Cinderella is like a moralist, like Jigsaw type killer because like we see this scene of the movie within the movie where Cinderella has like captured the prom queen and is like put a glass slipper in her guts and she has to carve herself carve the slipper out of her, and she's like, this is for having premarital sex. It's like
so funny too because the fucking girl, the victim, is like, oh god, it's so hard to cut through my rock hard abs. I've been doing Pilates all spring.
It's so fucking stupid. This is also where we find out. So after her debate with Gord too, Riley immediately basically just got rid of her veganism. She's like the very next scene she was eating like this Mondo cheeseburger. I was
at
like,
lunch.
School lunches had burgers like this. High school would have been way different. We would have been we would have been fueled and ready to learn if they had food like this.
I would have retained so much.
But after like, so in this scene, her like Riley and Ione fight, and then Riley has another like impromptu debate with Gord because Gord's like the usher at the movie theater. And he's like, shut the fuck up. And then she's like sadly eats a hot dog like that she pulls as if from nowhere.
It's so funny. He's like, your purchase of a ticket
comes with a social contract.
Yeah, you can't be talking in here or we're going to pull your ass out. He's so he's the Canadian transplant student is easily the best. Worth watching this film just for his scenes.
Yeah, he's only got a couple,
so
but
fucking funny. His monologues are so good.
After that, we've got a literal like deluge of music references. It's just like montage, music, followed by like there's like a food fight at like a bowling alley, which is like we're doing all the classic teen movie, shticks here.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a food fight in your movie, you're following a certain recipe. After that night there's the big game, right? That they've been talking about. There's been references for the big game, right? Every high school movie's got to have a big game going on. And so this is where Billy the football star starts secreting like this mysterious jizzy acid substance. Like it's like coming from his hands. He vomits over like onto the helmet of one of his teammates who's trying to help him, and it like dissolves the whole helmet. And you're like, what the? This is the point where we were like, what is?
Yeah, I was like, hold on, maybe we don't know what this movie's about. And then all of a sudden, there's this kid who's having a fucking mid-teenage like. Brendel fly problem.
Yeah, because he's like puking all this jizzy acid stuff, and then he runs off field into the locker room, and Riley chases him because Riley's forced to wear the bear costume.
She's the bear mascot.
She's the mascot.
Now, yeah.
So she goes to confront him for being such a bully to Clapton, and then Billy goes like, he says like something like, you want to know the truth? And she's like, yeah, tell me the truth. And he's like,
I have fly blood in my veins. I'm a freak.
He literally, when he said, I have fly blood in me, my fucking jaw hit the floor like a fucking Looney Tunes anvil. I was like, what?
And this is where we get like treated to a flashback sequence where young Billy Nolan is outside with his dog in his like trailer park yard. A meteor crashes down. He goes to investigate the meteor, touches it with his hand, and like his hand melts and mutates and becomes this gross thing. And he's like, ah! And then his dad, who's weirdly played by Richard Brake, last time seen in Barbarian.
What the fuck is Richard Brake?
What a cameo. Richard Brake is like, the only thing I've ever loved is my television, so I'm going to put my television on your hand.
So now he has he's fucking tube television.
And all of the kids are making fun of him and calling him TV hands when he's a little kid, and he's like getting into fights with his TV hand, but then eventually his hand gets better.
He becomes like an 18-year-old and his hand is just fine. And
it's fine.
It's a reveal. They like pull the TV off of his hand. His hand's fine. They're like,
but the whole movie, he's got these like fly like quills, like spines that are like shoot out of his hand every once in a while, and he's like, oh, I hope nobody saw it. And you're like, what the fuck this is the turn where you're like, okay, now I don't even know what to think about this movie.
Honestly, they were losing me, and then they had a Brendel fry.
The fly, I have fly blood brought you right back.
I did. I was like, what? You know the meme of like the sitting forward in your chair? I was like, excuse me, you have fly blood in your veins?
Completely. It's so insane. There's even like a shot of him sleeping with, like he's having sex with Taylor, the girl who gets killed in the beginning, and they're like, it's like an above shot, or it's like a down shot, right, where he's like on top of her and they're having sex, and his like back splits open and fly wings come shooting out as she like orgasms, and I'm like, what's going on? And also, why flies? Why fly blood? It's never explained, because immediately after the like fly blood reveal, we go to also during that flashback, his dog explodes too. That's like another pet explosion.
A bunch of the animals are exploding.
Yeah. But after that, it's now there's a house party, right? Sanders is having a house party, and it's supposed to be a costume party, but only Sanders and Riley are dressed up. Everybody else is normal because it's high school. No one's going to dress up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though
I dressed up
maybe in 2012, but like nowadays, any excuse to wear a costume, it's cool these days.
I don't know.
We're all down.
Every Halloween costume party that I went to in high school,
everyone was in.
Pretty much everybody was into it.
Yeah.
Even the like low effort, at least they were like, oh, well, I'm this low effort character. I'm like, all right, well, you did something.
Like the girls who were like, where are all the Taco Bell sauce packets? You know?
I was friends more so with the girls who were like, I'm this slut and I'm that slut.
Oh, you had the slutty parties?
Yeah.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but the Taco Bell packets can be pretty slutty.
I know they're slinging that spice.
So yeah, they go to the party. In the party, Toshiba's sad that the goth girl Mimi is not into him, because there's a scene where she goes up to Gord, and I didn't even catch this the first time around. I watched it just like earlier today. Mimi goes like, oh, so Canadian, eh? And then like we see the shot of them through the window as Toshiba's like, ooh, and Mimi just full on cups Gord, just goes like, crotch grab over the pants, under the hockey jersey. And I was like, whoa, Mimi. So yeah, Toshiba's sad.
What's that Canadian bacon?
Yeah, exactly. Riley's chugging Grey Goose, which to me feels like a very 2012 drink.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
She kisses Sander to make Clapton jealous, because there was like a thing earlier where, because it looked like Clapton walked into the confrontation between her and Billy, and it looked like they were fucking because they were stuck together because Billy had weird glue
from his fly powers.
Hands, right?
Fucking Peter Parker issues.
Very Peter Parker like. And then while she's drunk and making out with Sander, there's like a moment where Sander's like ring gets caught in her overalls, and then there's like a ripoff, and we get like a ripoff of her clothes, and we get what I assume is a stunt boobie, because we never see. I don't know how old the actress was at the time, and also we never see like.
We don't see head and boob. It's just a close-up on exposed boob.
It's just like a very extreme close-up on a boob. And I'm like, well, this is a stunt boobie if I've ever seen one. which for the rest of the movie, like, labels Riley as a porn star. Everyone's like, oh yeah, she's a porn star, because it's caught on video.
Yeah,
right?
so it's a video of them making out, and then the hand rips off the overalls, and the video just has like her boob exposed. So now, in true like 2012 fashion, everyone's like, oh well, she's a porn star.
Porn star.
And you're like, that's not how any of this works.
After that, the boys finally get to fight. Clapton and Billy fight at the party. Billy goes like full Brundlefly, runs away, only to get dismembered and dispatched by the Cinderella slasher. So like the whole Fly subplot, irrelevant.
It means nothing except for the fact that during his Cinderella fight, he punches a TV, gets his hand stuck in it, and then he gets
TV
his special
hands
weapon
again.
TV hand back. Yeah, it's like, what the fuck?
But even then, it's only for like 2 seconds, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what was the point of the Fly thing? It's so stupid.
So fucking crazy.
Later, Riley ends up getting detention. The next time we see her, she's in Principal Dane Cook's office. She's getting detention for her exposed boob being caught on camera at a party not involving the school.
Well, the problem is
also the star football player died.
Football player was in the video and then died at the party. So the principal is like, okay, so our star football player died at the party where you were taking your top off. You have detention.
He's like, who taught you how to film snuff porn?
Yeah.
Was it Lady Gaga?
Again, if this feels disjointed and it feels like two guys did a bunch of coke,
try watching
it. Yeah.
Just try watching it, dude. It's crazy. Later on after that, Riley hits on her hot teacher who was there in the meeting. We've seen him before in the movie.
Funny. She goes, wait, did all of you watch the video?
Oh my God.
And then the one teacher is like, no, I did not watch the video. And she's like,
she goes, why not?
Why not?
It's not even, she's angry. It's like,
she's like, how come, what was my boob not good enough?
Your nipple was exposed for 7 whole seconds. Is that why 2 of my brightest students were killed? For 7 seconds of video.
Did you all watch it?
I didn't.
Why not?
It's so good. Then later she's talking to him and she decides, like, she's like sad. She's like, I'm just a dumb porn star.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, wait, no, I'm a young, sexy porn star. And she's like, starts to like, she's like hugging him and like, rubbing on him. But then immediately it's like, oh no, it's 2012. So we're going to do a gay joke.
You can tell the whole time she's like talking to this teacher in a lunchroom where there's two wrestlers
just wrestling in
doing
the
high school wrestling in the background, and it's very clearly like, oh, this guy's into dudes, and that's what the like joke is.
Yeah.
And they're like telegraphing it right from the beginning, but she's trying to seduce the teacher, and he's like, I've never seen a teacher been more like, no, please stop. No, please stop.
Yeah,
no, please
it's
stop.
like exit stage left, I'm gay. He literally his boyfriend shows up and they make out.
Yeah.
As Riley's like, Meh.
I couldn't even seduce the teacher. Fuck. Is this where we go to Saturday detention? That's 10 hours.
Another montage plays. This movie is full of montage. The montage plays. But it's out. This montage is interrupted by. This is where we get the bear from the future. So there's like a scene where there's apparently like there's a bear in a apocalyptic future. Think like Planet of the Apes, like a sunken like Statue of Liberty. Like, and a bear is just kind of wandering around. A literal flying saucer touches down, puts out its little like doorway. The bear walks on up onto the inside, and we have to assume that this is the bear that's in the only other bear in this fucking movie that we've ever seen, right? So we're assuming this is the same bear. Now all the relevant characters in the movie, for whatever reason, I guess because they were all at this party where this Dane Cook is apparently allowed to just give detention for events that happen
outside of school,
extracurricularly.
I've heard of things like this.
That's crazy. But everyone's there, right? Even Gord, he was getting a little outside the pants hand job, so that's detention. And this is where they have to now try and figure out who the killer is, because presumably it has to be, for the sake of the movie, has to be one of them, right? Yeah. But this is where we see there's even a guy that we don't recognize who like is always like on the outskirts of like the shots of this scene where it's like we get a literal like a shot of the full cast, right? Everybody that's relevant to this movie is sitting in like a circle of desks.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, as we're like cutting back and forth to closer shots, there's like a character that's like on the outskirts of the shot that is like, that's not a guy that's been in this movie before. But they don't like address it until eventually Riley is like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And turns out this guy is Elliot Fink, a new character, and he's been in detention for like 20 years. Like he's just been
the next flashback.
Yeah, and montage, right?
Yeah.
So this is where we get another montage. And apparently, according to the director, to Mr. Khan, this was the only trivia that I wrote down from IMDb. This is the most expensive part of the movie because of all the music licensing they had to do here.
Yeah, it makes sense. They do about 40 years worth of like flashing forward from like what
it's flashing backwards. So we get basically like a countdown of all the years that this character Elliot has been in detention, all going from 2012 all the way down to 1992. So like what, 10 years?
Yeah.
Worth of
a decade
of musical references. We got like fucking, I can't even count them all, but I know Backstreet Boys was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of those like Twilight like spinning in a circle montages where like the camera is going to loop around, and each time it loops there's like we're in a new decade or a new year, right? And it's counting down. It's really, it's well shot, it's very good, but it's just like another thing where you're like, what are we doing in this fucking movie?
The camera cannot stop.
No,
if the
camera sits
stops,
still, we're dead.
we're
like
dead.
A shark.
We die. Yeah,
it's like a shark, right? Like if we stop moving, we're dead.
If you if the camera stops, you stop in real life.
So yeah, we get eventually it counts down to right before 1992. We find out, or no, right at 1992. This is where like he receives like this vision of this apocalyptic future of like the school like burning and everyone dying. Also, we found out that he's in detention for filming pornography, allegedly. But one also key thing is that across from him in detention in 1992 is Ione.
Yeah, they like just, and they don't say anything.
Well, they know they do.
The montage is going.
Not in the montage, but after the montage, it cuts from Ione in 1992 to back to modern day where we are. And Elliot is like, weren't you in detention in 1992? And I mean, let's just like, this is where we find out.
Strap in.
Oh.
Do another bump if you lost us.
So this is where we find out that Ione has been on her own like Freaky Friday adventure where like her mom, like Ione had to do a dance for a talent show, but she didn't know how to dance. So her mom was like, I could show you how to dance, but we could only do it in this really convoluted, the only possible way for you to learn how to dance is this way. And the solution is you and I, mother and daughter, will swap bodies. But so in order for there to not be two of us at the same time, you'll go back to my body in the 90s and I'll be in your body here and I'll do the talent show for you because I'm a good dancer. And that's it. There's literally no explanation for how this happens other than Ione wishes upon a star that like her mom would stop being crazy and they could understand each other better. Very Freaky Friday. But then aliens show up, abduct the two of them, and perform like a time travel body swap Freaky Friday switch that makes no sense, but is like, all right, we're already an hour into this movie.
This is the same movie that gave us the fucking QB turning into a fly with a TV hand. So like at this point, you have to just let it wash over you.
Yeah. So Ione's been actually in the past, and this is where we also get the talent show, which is where we get the reveal of why Ione and Riley, they used to be best friends, but they're not because Riley told Ione that she was in love with Clapton. And then later Ione was like, no, now I'm going to date Clapton. But really it's because now the new Ione is really her mom in her daughter's body who wants to fuck this young kid, which is weird. And that's why they're not friends anymore because they're not even the real two.
They're not the same people.
It's like, oh, what is happening? And there's no time to even think about it because as we're going,
So technically, in the past, Ione, who is in her mom's body in the past, grows up and gives birth to herself, which is eventually her mom.
Only after the
swap,
the time travel events are solidified.
Yeah.
But eventually, the detention group is confronted by the killer. The killer gets. Oh, also we found out during the talent show where Riley. The reason Riley breaks her foot and has been broken the whole movie is because during her interpretive dance, she sees Ione and Clapton kissing, who's really Ione's mom, and she's so startled by it that she falls off stage and breaks her foot, and that's why again, there's the whole. Despite how insane this movie is, literally every single thing connects.
Which is the problem.
Which is the problem, and also the good thing about it, because it's like at least there's like breadcrumbs of like treats, right? So like where you're like, oh, okay, I'll watch another 4 minutes of this, because every 4 minutes feels like 1,000 years.
I go through my day and feel like, man, I would really benefit from some sort of ADHD medication, which is just the general feeling I have.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching this movie, I'm like, yeah, I think I just need some to just realign my brain, because this movie is just like, it's like watching a fucking water fill up a maze, right? It's just like all of these different paths that are like twisting and turning and intersecting, and then it just keeps going. There's like,
yeah, it's like watching the scene in the Titanic when all of the like hallways are just like getting like flooded, right? And this is where the characters decide to watch a like bootleg copy of the Cinderella movie, and we get like a movie within a movie, like kind of like Scream 4 style, like,
yeah, but it goes like 3 levels.
It goes
down.
way too deep.
Yeah.
But I only bring this up because it's not really relevant to the movie, but I bring it up because this is where eventually one of the movies within the movie within the movie within the movie is actually a porno where we get a Ron Jeremy appearance. And I feel like it's important to just say like, hey, Ron Jeremy's also in this movie if it wasn't fucking insane enough.
That's right. I forgot about that.
If it wasn't already like mind-boggling enough, Ron Jeremy's also here.
Ron Jeremy's in the movie, and they also have him dressed up like he's doing
like
a Dr. Frank
or like a Frankenfurter thing.
I don't know what the fuck's going on there.
This is also our only other shot of boobies in the movie too. So.
Oh yeah, boobie alert.
Another boobie alert. I feel like I've been like, we're not even done yet, and I'm like
this is what the Charlie Day in front of the like Pepe Sylvia board meme feels like.
Seriously, it's like living it. It's absolutely insane. The characters eventually.
You look like you're in pain trying to get through this.
The end of this movie is so convoluted, dude. It's crazy. So the characters eventually. So also, I didn't even mention the whole movie. There was like the magnetic properties of the bear, right? The bear taxidermy, but. To the character Toshiba, he like had removed the paws from the bear, and there was like all this like Iron Man tech inside. That's another thing I didn't even talk about.
He's working on turning it into a time machine.
Well, not him, the whole school.
Oh, right.
The teacher's assignment for them for the year in this chemistry class was to create a time machine so he could leave. It was like literally the assignment. And so Toshiba's been working on this time machine. So then they find out, like Toshiba figures out how to turn the bear into a time machine, and the reason they need a time machine is because Elliot finishes his he's been carving with a knife like this algorithm equation in the desk that he's been at detention at for 20 years, and he's like, I figured it out. The world's gonna end in 9 minutes, but it's gonna end in 9 minutes in 1992, and that's because Dane Cook's principal character was turned down from prom by Ione in the past, and he was like, well, fuck it, if I can't have her, nobody can have her, so I'm going to destroy the whole building, and that would delete time for all the main characters. There's even a funny quote where Elliot's like, the world's going to end, and he's like everything's going to be destroyed, and Toshiba's like, everything's going to be destroyed or just Grizzly Falls? And he's like, well, you ever been out of this town? And he goes, no. And he goes, well, then what's the difference?
Yeah, yep.
Which I thought was a very like a very good line.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now they have to go back in time. So they all a bunch of them cram inside this bear, and it's got like Iron Man tech inside, where it's like all these like blue fucking spinny hand dials, where everyone's like, it's like and so they fucking go back in time, and this is where like Riley finds Ione in the past, and they get like a friend. They reunite, and it's like, oh, my actual friend, and not her slutty fucking shitty mom. So, but then they have to be like, but oh, sorry, you have to date this like fucking horrible nerd. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. That's basically date rape.
Yep.
And then they're like, well, you have to. And then the next scene cut to Ione, and she's like crying black fucking mascara tears.
She's like, do you want to go to the prom with me?
And so then they're like, so they ask her out, and then the bomb doesn't go off, and then they travel back in time, and they're like, we save the day. They have a little dance, right? There's like a mbop, like they literally mbop plays.
Yeah.
While all the characters that we know are dancing, there was like a whole running thing where like Clapton is like, I don't dance. And then
Clapton don't dance.
Clapton don't dance. But now he's dancing for Riley. They're like together now.
Her foot's not broken anymore.
Her foot's not broken anymore. We also get the reveal that now that they've changed the timeline, right? So Ione, 15-year-old girl Ione went back in time, was forced to ask young Dane Cook out to prom, and now modern day Dane Cook principal and now like 40 something or like 20, 30, late 30s, early 40s, Ione is now with Principal Dane Cook. Doesn't have his crazy scar anymore. They're happy.
They're very happy.
But Ione's mom is still in young Ione's body. So we've got like this, like the middle-aged woman who's in the body of her daughter. And it's like, at this point our brains are fucking melting, and we're like, what is happening? I'm glad this movie's over, because we're having the like obligatory like dance party that means everything's done. Credits are coming.
They get voted prom king and queen.
But then Riley and Clapton, right as they're about to make out in the finale of the movie, they realize that their two friends are still dead, because there's like a poster in memoriam of the two characters of Billy and Taylor. And she's like, oh no, we didn't change everything. And then we get the big reveal that it was the fucking loser Sanderson was the killer the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, there's like a kung fu action movie fight between him and Clapton, where there's like this choreographed, like Clapton's always into Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, he's into
movies,
Roadhouse.
And fucking Sanders is really into Highlander. What is the guy with the ponytail?
Steven
Seagal. So there's like a Steven Seagal, Patrick Swayze fight that happens, and it's just like it just keeps fucking going, dude. This movie just doesn't end.
And don't forget the bear's magnetic.
Yeah, and then at the end, like at the resolution of the conflict is like Sanders has like this fire axe, and he's about to like kill Riley with it. He also breaks her leg again. She's got her leg's immediately rebroken. But then the magnetic bear like turns on for no reason, and then pulls him with the axe towards it, and then he gets like pulled up into his head gets pulled up into the jaws of the bear, and that's how he dies. Like the teeth of the bear like chomp down on him, and he's dead, just hanging there. And it's like, okay, why not? Why not end it that way? It's fucking crazy. Also, Gord died at some point too.
Yeah, Gord gets chopped in half, and I fucking audibly
chopped in half by a ceiling fan.
Audibly screamed for the loss.
Yeah, it was really, really bad.
Once again, I gotta reiterate, Drive Home, the movie is worth watching just for Gord, just for the Canadian character alone.
And then, like, I think after that, it's fine. We get the actual like resolution of the movie. It's like, so Sanders is dead. Everything goes back to normal. Riley realizes that, the kind of the theme of the movie is like everyone was predicting like, oh, the world's gonna end. Clapton's whole thing was like, yeah, we're all like, the world's over. Like we're all gonna go, off to college, and everything we know is gonna end, at the end of the year. So like, all we have is now, and that's the whole shtick of the movie, right? And then it ends with Riley being like, but no, like, this is just like the end of the beginning, and then the rest is just yet to start. But then like her monologue gets cut short because there's music playing, and she's like, I honestly can't think to this music, so my monologue's over. And that's the fucking end of like
bonkers.
And that's not even the end. Because
No.
the end happens where Riley is back to veganism, right? She makes like a fucking tofu sandwich, and not even an appetizing one. She literally, it's
so
like
gross.
lettuce, tomato, and a like full 3-inch slab of tofu in between 2 slices of bread, which is probably the most unappetizing thing you could ever show me.
No.
And she
No.
sits down on the couch with Clapton because they're together now, right? And then right as the movie ends, it's revealed that Gord was actually one of the aliens plaguing the world the whole time, and they're a plant-based species, and they're here invading because they're sick of the plants being eaten by all of the
vegetarians,
all the vegetarians. So they're launching their final plan to like destroy all plant eaters, and it's like, what the fuck?
And
This
this
whole
girl
movie-
has less confidence than everyone else because she's only wearing one shoe.
Oh my god! And it's just I feel like
Catch your breath, dude.
I feel like I just ran through like an Olympic gauntlet of subjects. Like, what even is this movie, dude?
I applaud you for the nearly breathless explanation of this movie because it really made me feel like I was
You were
sitting
watching
through
it again.
I was like, my heart rate's up. I can't focus on a single fucking thing.
No, this movie can't do it. You can't do it. No one's allowed to focus. It's just random. But something about it, though, I've watched it twice now. There is charm to it. It has a lot of charm. It's just like it's such a restless film. I can't like I don't know if I'll ever watch it again because like I have to be in a very like specific mood. Like for me, I like to like kind of lose myself in a movie, but I can't in this. This movie is just so like kinetic and like nonstop. It's like it's like being on a roller coaster, which I don't really like being on that much. So like for me, it's like kind of stressful to watch this, even though there's a lot of parts about it that I like.
It's okay. We'll go watch like a super drawn out slow burn.
Let me watch Midsummer and like fucking like just kind of like turn into like like sludge, you know? Just like, oh, thank God. Something calm and depressing.
Calm. I don't know about calm.
It's a pretty fucking calm movie compared to this.
Compared.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, that's the movie. And honestly, even this whole time, me describing it, I haven't even caught half of the fucking things that it's like. Not only story wise is it jam packed, just visually, like every second of this movie, every cut, every splice, everything, every piece of dialogue. There's ADR, just like there's punch up in this movie that is like there's always something to hear or see or experience. It's just non fucking stop. And for better or worse, that's what this movie is.
You know what's crazy? Like, I would love to see this guy do another movie in a different genre, right? I would love to see him do a movie that wasn't like a comedy horror, just to see how he would try and execute it. Like, let him do something that's like, I mean, I doubt that they would be interested in working on something that's not comedy related, because that's clearly what they're leaning into is like, how many jokes can we pack into like a millisecond? But
a millisecond is the timeline they're working on here, dude.
It's just like breakneck. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's probably I can't think of a movie that is like so much that is more energetic than this movie. That is just so nonstop. Like even like fucking like I could watch the whole fucking Fast and the Furious franchise and not feel as like just drained like mentally as watching this movie. It's crazy. And again, there's good in it, there's bad in it. A lot of the jokes do not land.
No.
But it's like but there's a joke every 5 seconds. So that if 10 didn't land for you, they're throwing them out so fast that it's like one of them's gonna hit you and be like, oh, that was funny, let me keep watching.
Right. It's like getting waterboarded by jokes.
Seriously, it's great. It's absolutely insane. I've just really never experienced a movie like this before that I can think of. Honestly, like I'd have to go back into my brain and like think about movies from this era that might feel the same. But I think honestly, there's like a weird like conflux of like the director being mostly like a music video guy, the subject matter of like horror comedy, the actors involved, like the time that it came out, it just all comes together.
Like relying on tropes, but then also like blowing them out to like the beyond camp proportion of like a teen movie trope.
It's, you know what? The only other thing that even holds a candle to it is like the Not Another Blank movies, you know?
Yeah,
like Scary Movie,
something
Not
like that.
Another Teen Movie,
But even then,
action movie.
even those movies are paced better.
Yeah, no, there's one pace in this, and it's like the Olympic sprint medal pace is like we're trying to get to that finish line as fast as fucking possible.
Like, you know how when you give Ritalin to someone who's not supposed to have it,
Yeah,
it does
that's
the
what it's
opposite
like.
effect.
Yes.
That's what it's like.
Oh, well, that's Detention. That's our back to school fucking episode. So starting our official year.
Yes,
You know,
we're sliding right into spooky season after this, though. We have a very scary and fun episode coming up next for us. We have our Junji Ito
Oh,
episode.
yes, the next one is Junji
So
Ito,
ahead
so
of
stay
the
tuned.
Uzumaki anime premiere that's going to be happening on Toonami the day before the episode, or the
Can't
day
believe
after the
Toonami is
episode comes
still
out.
happening.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I think they're stronger now than they've ever
Stronger
been.
than ever.
But yeah, so we're going to be talking about all things Junji Ito. We're going to be talking about the comics, his career, the bad previous adaptations, and then hopefully kind of analyzing some of the course corrections that will hopefully make this Uzumaki premiere unfallible.
Yeah, this one's going to be really interesting. And let's like try to head it off at the pass here. It is about foreign stuff, but don't let that stop you from listening to it. Just right now, you have to tune in for next episode. Our last foreign episode did not do very well, but you have to listen to this one.
Oh yeah, I was like, what is this preamble?
Junji Ito is he is the horror guy that you guys are missing out on if you're not tapped into like foreign horror. This is he's a Japanese artist that has done some of the best horror work of all time. And if you don't know about him, you're missing out, and you're really going to want to learn about him. He's really cool. And you're going to hear all these cool fucking stories we're going to talk about.
And even if you're super familiar or like a super fan of his, like me,
you're also going to want to hear us
learn so many cool things.
Yeah,
about
you're going to
him.
want to hear us gush about him for fucking 2 hours. So it's going to be really, really awesome. So definitely tune in for that one. Other than that, as always, the Twitch stream still going strong. We're post hot wet summer, so we're not doing any more water games at the moment, but we're still playing all sorts of fun stuff.
We had a really fun Alien Isolation stream the other day. That
Oh
seemed
hell
very
yeah, we've
successful.
been playing Alien Isolation. There's lots of fun spooky games coming out mid-October. There's a really cool classic like side scroller beat 'em up style Michael Myers video game that's coming out that we're going to play the absolute fuck out of.
I'm gonna try and convince everybody to let me play Clock Tower this.
Oh,
October,
I've got
too.
Clock Tower ready and raring to go. So we're going to have some really fun, like spooky horror games that you can catch us playing live. You can chat with us. We're hanging out. It's going to be really fun. So if you're a listener and you haven't like checked out the Twitch stream, highly recommend it. We have a really good time on there. You can talk directly to us. It's super chill, low pressure.
Monday,
Max
Wednesday,
fun.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Monday we got the
Thursday.
whole gang together.
Wednesday we got the whole gang.
Most of the gang. Thursday, usually it's gonna.
I leave a little bit early,
Yeah.
because I got work. But other than that, you know, it's still a really fun time. So please check us out on Twitch. It would really help if you've got Amazon Prime. You can subscribe to us there. It's really easy. We're going to be putting out a little tutorial on how to do that. But even farther beyond that, come Halloween, we are working on getting our Patreon up and running. Patreon's going to be a really fun space for you to engage with us in. We're going to have access to polls. You'll be able to talk to us directly about what kind of movies and subject matter you'd like us to talk about. There's going to be audio commentary tracks we're putting out for movies, so you'll be able to watch a movie and then play our track at the same time and hear us talk shit or have fun and yap all over those movies. There's going to be a sticker of the month club where if you join it, you'll be able to get a sticker designed monthly by me or Eric that we'll mail out to you.
Cool
There's a lot-
horror based stuff.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff that's going to be coming out, so definitely stay tuned for that. there anything else?
No, I think that'll be it.
All right.
I think that's our all our plugs.
That's our detention episode. That's our plugs.
Where can they find this movie if they want to watch it?
Amazon. I think you're gonna have to rent this one. I think they'll have to plop down a little bit of $3.99 for this one. But honestly, for the experience, if you can get a couple of friends together, get at least 2 other guys, have them send you $1. You know, all you watch it, it's gonna be worth it. You're gonna not even believe what is in front of your eyes. It's a crazy movie, totally worth it. At least one time. But I think that's it for us at the Devil's Cut for this week. Say goodbye to summer. Say hello to the school year. And for everything else, just creep it real, right? We'll catch you later, BL's buds. All right. Stop.
Was everybody good?
Look at that. This episode's going to come down to like an hour, like 35.
I'd say
Risk.
maybe an hour 30 tops. I'd be surprised.
Risk.